Starring amongst others John David Washington, Adam Driver, Laura Harrier and Topher Grace, directed by Spike Lee, off of a screenplay he wrote himself alongside Kevin Wilmot, David Rabinowitz and Charlie Wachtel. This is my review for BlacKkKlansman. BlacKkKlansman. BlacKkKlansman.
Put the bunny back in the box.
BlacKkKlansman is based on the true story of Ron Stallworth. He was the first African American to join the Colorado Springs Police Department, and shortly after arriving he takes it upon himself to try and infiltrate the KKK. He rings them up and goes undercover. Only being a black man, it's going to be quite difficult for him to meet them and integrate, so he has to get another white colleague to go and take his place. And this was a movie that I was really looking forward to. The trailers just looked awesome, and it sucked that it came out a little bit late over here. It only just came out on Friday, and I couldn't see it the day it came out, which really annoyed me, but I finally got to see it. And is this movie worth the wait? Because I absolutely loved this, and I'm just going to get my negatives out of the way now, just so I can talk about how great this is. And there's only a couple of negatives that I've got, and even then, they're not huge problems. Like, they're not things that bring the film down all that much. One of them is the pacing. It does at times slow down. It does at times feel like it grinds to a halt a little bit. It feels like things should be moving, but it doesn't quite escalate quick enough. And it's not often this happens, but there are moments where it just feels like it's lagging a little bit, where it could do with picking up the pace. And there's a moment too towards the end where it feels like this movie has come to a close, only for it to then just move on and carry on a little bit longer. It didn't seem to know the exact sort of right time to finish things off. But at the same time, so much here is important. Sort of so many little moments and little scenes are important to the overall thing, so I don't know where they could have trimmed time, but it did certainly feel like it ran just a little bit too long. Also, the whole love interest aspect here didn't quite work for me as well. Like, I don't think the two of them got enough focus. But then, seeing as I've already said this ran on a little bit long, I can't really then say they should have spent more time on that. But there's nothing wrong with it. It wasn't bad as such. I just didn't connect to these two as a couple as such. Individually, I liked them. Individually, I liked their stories. But yeah, just together, didn't quite work. But other than that, I loved every other thing about BlacKkKlansman. This is such a good film, and I wasn't expecting it to be quite this good. It's very funny when it needs to be. It does humour really well, and it's not obvious in-your-face humour. There's one character in particular that is just seemingly over-the-top funny, but he works. He did make me laugh on several occasions, but it's a much more sort of subdued humour. There's just the odd little lines and the odd little witty moments that really made me laugh, and yeah, when this film's being funny, it's really funny. And at the same time, when this film being emotional, when it's making you feel the horror of what's going on, it's superbly effective at that. There's one scene, and I'm not going to talk spoilers, but there is one scene in particular just involving an old man just talking about what happened to a kid that he knew. And that scene, it's intercut with shots of the Ku Klux Klan, or the organisation, as they call themselves. And it's so powerfully delivered, and it goes into so much detail that I was floored. I was transfixed by what this guy was saying and horrified by the things that I was hearing. Such a great moment. And the way this movie ends as well, it ends with footage of a recent event that plays very much into the themes that BlacKkKlansman's saying, and it's done in such a powerful way that, yeah, this almost brought me to tears on a couple of occasions. One, by just how sort of emotional it was, and one, the horror that this is the kind of world that we're living in. And BlacKkKlansman does game at Donald Trump on occasion, and there are a couple of instances in there and a couple of lines where it feels a little bit too on the nose, but then at the same time it's still powerful, it's still effective. So yeah, it was a bit heavy-handed in the approach, but I think it was absolutely necessary. And the cast here, phenomenal. John David Washington, Denzel's son, great future ahead of him in the show business. He has to, because he is fantastic in this. He doesn't put a foot wrong. He handles every single thing thrown at him. Every awkward moment, every cool moment, every awesome moment, every somber, sad or emotional moment, he nails every single beat as Ron Stallworth. Like, he doesn't miss one. This is just a phenomenal performance from this guy. Adam Driver is brilliant as well. I always love Adam Driver, and this is, I think, perhaps my favourite thing that I've seen him in. I mean, obviously, my name is Kylo Ren now, and he was great in Logan Lucky, but this performance here, he's the guy who has to physically go undercover, not just over the phone as Ron. And yeah, he does so much with this. so much with this character, and his performance, as I say, was just absolutely phenomenal. Both of these actors deserve to have their names in the ring when it comes to award season from this, because I'm struggling to think of a performance I've seen this year that's been better. There's some that are on par, certainly, but nothing's been better than this that I've seen performance-wise. There's one conversation in this that Adam Driver's character has where he's talking about being Jewish, and he doesn't say a lot in that conversation. It's not an overly wordy one, but with what little he says, he's able to convey what he's feeling, just, as I say, by not actually saying all that much. And that's the sign of a great performance. And there's just lots of moments like this throughout BlacKkKlansman. And you got to give credit to the people playing the Ku Klux Klan members here as well, because they're given some awful things to say, and it can't have been easy filming them. It can't have been easy saying the things that they're meant to say. But they're all so convincing at just being hideous, horrible people. So yeah, without question, their performances are amazing as well. I can't fault any of them. Topher Grace, he's David Duke here, the leader of the Ku Klux Klan, or whatever stupid title they give themselves. And wow, I didn't know he was capable of this. He's so smarmy, yet oddly somehow he's personable at the same time, despite the fact he's clearly a horrible, horrible man. And yet Topher Grace nails that. And as I say, it can't have been nice or pleasant to have to say a lot of the things that they do. But yeah, they fully commit to these roles, and the film would be a lot lesser if they hadn't have committed as fully as they did. And I want to mention the music in this as well, because there's a certain piece of music, and it's not a song, it's a score, that's played multiple times throughout this, and I absolutely loved it. It was almost exhilarating, this music that was used. Kind of a little bit old school as well. I mean, this is set towards the end of the 70s, so that does make sense. But yeah, it was such a good piece of music, and every single time it was used, it was just like a kind of music. I absolutely loved that. So yeah, it was Terence Blanchard that did the score for this, and yeah, full props to him, because he really added to this. And the film also looks great. I mean, Spike Lee is a great director, like we know by now he's a good director, but little touches in this one that just really help to heighten things. There's one shot towards the end of two of the characters just kind of moving through a corridor, but they're almost stationary as the world's kind of going by them. Just little moments like that really help elevate this. And what I like as well is, while this is based on a true story, it's, as far as I'm aware, does embellish certain things. Like, it doesn't play exactly true to what happened, but it doesn't feel the need to go over the top with anything. This is very light on action. This is much more about character than it is action set pieces, and there is just one action moment here, and because they're so few and far between, because, as I say, it might only be one, it's that much more effective when it does happen. And I really do appreciate that they didn't feel the need to kind of make this more grandiose than it was. They just tell the story, and they focus on the characters in this story, good and bad. BlacKkKlansman is a powerful film. It's a very, very good film. It's brilliantly written. It's wonderfully performed. Say every single thing about it, apart from those couple of little minor things that I absolutely loved. I can't recommend seeing this movie enough. I'm going to give BlacKkKlansman a 9 out of 10. This is one of my favourite movies of the year, so if you haven't seen this yet, please do go and see it. I think it's a very important film to watch, particularly in this day and age. It has a great message behind it, and yeah, when award season comes around, I think we're going to see this film name dropped quite a few times, and it's fully deserved. So have you seen BlacKkKlansman? If so, let me know what you think about it in the comments below. More reviews coming soon for the Happy Time Murders, and I'm going to try and see Alpha as well if I get a chance to, because I do want to see that. It looks quite interesting. Let me know what you think of those films if you've seen them. Hit like and subscribe if you did enjoy this video. Look out for more episode by episodes of Buffy coming as well. One was released yesterday, a day early, so there'll be season 3 starting next Monday. But yeah, thank you very much for watching, and I'll see you on the next video.